Well, Novak Djokovic has, of course, won his battle against the Australian government and for now is free to play in the Australian Open. Here's how his fans greeted the news today. And I believe we have some live pictures as well of what I think is going on out the front of Novak Djokovic's lawyer's office, which is, of course, where he has been this afternoon after the judge allowed him out for the day. And, of course, presumably from there, he will go on to wherever he's going to stay in Melbourne, at least for now. But for hopefully a more nuanced reaction, though I'm not entirely sure, given we've got Gideon here, I want to bring in my panel from Melbourne. We have the Director of Policy at the Institute of Public Affairs, Gideon Rozner, and media writer at the Australian newspaper, Sophie Ellsworth. How are we, team?
Great to be here,
Very well indeed, Caleb. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much to both of you. Now, Gideon, I saw a little bit of footage of you today hanging around with some of Novak's fans. Here it is. Oh, that was seriously good stuff, Gideon.
As I said,
I'm so disappointed you're not. I'm really disappointed you're not wearing that hat on air tonight. But need I ask?
No, they gifted me that hat.
What is your reaction? Oh, great.
Well,
what is your reaction, Gideon?
Yeah, look, wonderful people, real patriots in the crowd today. And look, for me, I'm delighted by this news. And it's not about the tennis. It's not about Novak Djokovic to me. It's not even really about the vaccine issue to me. This, to me, is just poetic justice for a government that deserved comeuppance and then some for its horrible and cruel mismanagement of our international and domestic borders for the last 2 years. This is a comeuppance the government deserved for leaving expats stranded, Australian citizens for months on end overseas, for criminalising Australian citizens returning to their own home, for allowing internally displaced people to spring up along the Murray River because the Federation has broken down under ScoMo's watch to the extent that every state has its own immigration policy. The government deserved an utter humiliation over this, and they got it. So as I said, Caleb, we're all Serbs tonight.
Indeed, and we've got more live pictures here now of people out the front of the lawyer's office. And I mean, there would be hundreds of people there, and they're all going free Novak again now, and they've got those same hats on, Gideon. But Sophie, I mean, Gideon's right, isn't he? The government had this coming. They made a decision. Someone in the government, perhaps quite high up, made a decision that they would cancel Djokovic's visa, presumably because they thought it would play well publicly. But if you're going to make big moves like that, you've got to do it within the rules, and they have been slapped down today.
Oh, look, Caleb, I think this is an absolute international embarrassment for Australia. If you thought we were, a country that didn't matter, now we just look like an absolute backwater and a joke to the rest of the world. I mean, we've locked up the world #1 tennis player who appears to have done everything that he needed to do. He arrived on Australian soil and then he was taken away and thrown into this, hotel down in Carlton, like he's some sort of criminal, and made a political example of. I think it's shameful on Tennis Australia, and heads should roll there. How Craig Tiley's going to get away with this remains to be seen. I think the state and federal governments have their mitts all over it, and yet they're pointing fingers in every other direction possible. And I think for the PR for Tennis Australia is just highly embarrassing. This is a Grand Slam tournament. This will just continue to play out in the coming days, next week when Novak hits the court. And I hope that he wins. I mean, the treatment of him has been utterly shameful.
Yeah.
And I think that who would have thought Novak Djokovic, who a lot of us didn't like up until now, I've got to say, I hope that he wins this tournament and shoves it up Australia, because they've treated him with absolute, disgusting the way that he's been treated. And I think it's embarrassing for the government. It's embarrassing for Tennis Australia. And there'll be a lot of people hoping he holds that trophy up in a couple of weeks and shoves it up Australia, because we're a joke after all of this. It's embarrassing.
Yeah, well, you see, the other thing as well, of course, is that there's still the possibility that the government can deport him. But the judge made it pretty clear today that if they go down that road, he has to be banned from the country for 3 years. And I have to say they'd be pretty bloody brave if they went down that road. But we'll move on to another issue as we look at those scenes. It's just so good looking at that. I love it.